Have you ever heard the saying, a dead DPS is no DPS? Have your team ever gotten hit so hard that you thought Fortnite materials would start spilling out? Healers are an essential to any team comps, and this holds true in Honkai Star Rail as well. Our newest Foxian Huohuo is a Wind Abundance character. Yes, she's a Foxian. What, did you think all Foxian look like this? Let me just put this out there right now. If you have Luocha and our favorites 4v2 Master Diviner, that is 1.3 meters for people with free healthcare by the way, you're good. You have the two best sustained characters in the game. Unless you're planning on some big brain 4 healers team comp, Huohuo is basically skippable for you. Save those gems. Look further outwards. Maybe look at some fireworks. If you get it, you get it. On the subject of getting it, is Huohuo worth getting? Yes, she absolutely is worth it. We only need to build 2 sustained characters, so who is Huohuo replacing? Let's look at her competitions right now. Starting with our very first matchup, Huohuo versus Natasha. This is not even a fair comparison. This is the biggest mismatch ever since Krillin versus Frieza. I am not hating on Natasha, it's just that she can't even beat Lynx, let alone Huohuo. The only category that Natasha wins in this comparison is her height. Speaking of height, let's just move on to our next short healer on the list. Lynx, the 2.0 Natasha. Lynx earned this title because of everything that Natasha can do, Lynx can do, and more. We have a very similar situation here. Everything that Lynx can do, Huohuo can do, with the exception of the aggro manipulation on Lynx's skill. Lynx has a cleanse, Huohuo has a cleanse. Lynx has overtime healing for her allies, so does Huohuo. Lynx has HP scaling, well, Huohuo has HP scaling as well. Lynx can increase allies' HP, Huohuo can increase allies' attack. Here is where Huohuo completely outshadows Lynx. Lynx's overtime healing for her allies is based on her allies' turn. Huohuo, on the other hand, has the counter based off of her own turn. I'll take a leap of faith here and assume most of you aren't going to be using your Bronya skill on your healer. Now for Huohuo's main attraction, she has a team-wide Tengyun ulti. I honestly have no problem if you ignored everything I've said so far, but please listen to this part. Huohuo is a Tengyun that can heal. If you thought Tengyun was perfect before, now you have a new Foxian who can heal on top of that. Moving on to Bailu. One of Bailu's biggest weaknesses that worries some players since day 0 is her lack of a cleanse. It was one of the reasons why some players use Natasha over Bailu. Nowadays almost every single elite and boss enemies have some kind of CC. Having a cleanse on your team is a must. It's like having hand soap. Do you need to use soap all the time? Well, you probably should, but some of you are top tier lawyers and can argue why you don't need to. But what if your hands are greasy? You might not need to use cleanse all the time for your battles, but when the rest of your team is getting dominated by Kafka, it would be nice to have a cleanse. Unless you want to be dominated by Kafka, in that case, you win. Now, Luocha. This is the main event. Who is the GOAT healer in Honkai Star Rail? They're equal. I know, that's such a boring answer. I'll give you my hot take later. Luocha and Huohuo are both fantastic healers with different areas of expertise. Let me break it down. The first category is SP. Huohuo has a higher demand for SP. She needs to maintain her talent stacks by using her skill more frequently than Luocha. Luocha might even be able to go through entire fights without having to manually use a skill once. Huohuo cannot do that. So Luocha is more SP positive than Huohuo. I have talked about cleanse many times already in this video, so let's compare their cleanses. Category number 2, cleanse. Huohuo technically has 2 ways to cleanse. One is manually using her skill on an ally. This is the same for Luocha. The other way is through her talent. Whenever she heals an ally with her talent, it will dispel 1 debuff from that ally. This healing can be triggered by 1. The start of an ally's turn. 2. When an ally uses their ult, at the same time, every ally with 50% or less HP will get healed once. This is way more reliable than Luocha's emergency single healing. Many CC such as freeze usually isn't enough damage to drop your ally to 50%, which means Luocha's emergency healing plus cleanse won't activate. Even if Luocha's emergency healing does activate, it will only activate once, and then it will go on cooldown. While Huohuo's cleanse count is refreshable through her skill usage and has a higher count than Luocha's once per 2 turns. The conclusion here is that Huohuo's cleanse is much more reliable and useful than Luocha's cleanse. Here is my personal opinion. Huohuo is better. Her Walmart Tengyun ult can potentially speed up the number of turns it would take for your other characters to get their ults. My Bronya will get her ults faster, my Pella will get her ults faster, and most importantly, my Jingliu will get her ults faster. This will all lead to more damage. And I am a simple man. I see big numbers, I like. Huohuo's cleanse is more versatile and her version of emergency healing is better overall. While Huohuo is better in certain areas, Luocha is better in other areas. It all comes down to what you value from your healers. Notice how I purposely left out our favorite 3'9" Master Diviner. They are both keeping the team alive, but they're doing it quite differently. One of the only similarities between the two is that their skill usage frequency is very similar. Xuan is damage mitigation with less healing, while Huohuo is more of a traditional healer. Here are some of the differences between the two. Xuan's ult has her doing all these Naruto hand signs only to do 2000 damage. Just look at her. She's doing a fire style fireball jutsu, but ends up doing like 2000 damage. Huohuo's ult is giving her entire team energy regen and attack boost for 2 turns. I'm sure most of you would rather have Huohuo's ult than Xuan's ult. If Huohuo is a red apple and Luocha is a green apple, then Xuan is an orange, or a tangerine if you want to be more accurate about her size. Before I break the Magician's Code to you, please like the video if it's been enjoyable so far, and subscribe if you haven't. Here are some crucial tips that some of you may not know. Tip number 1, and this is the most important tip, positioning for Huohuo's teammates. Team positioning for Huohuo is very important because you can squeeze in an extra amount of healing from it. You want to position the character that is most likely to get hit in the center, which will be the number 2 or the number 3 slot in the team formation. This means putting characters like Clara, destruction characters, preservation characters, or your Tengyun in one of those 2 slots. We are doing this because Huohuo's healing skill has a splashing effect on it, which is very similar to Bailu's healing. But Bailu's healing is RNG based. Huohuo's is not. If you're a Bailu user, then you will know about this pain. 3 members on your team are gravely hurt and are 1 hit away from going down. You are on your knees praying for Bailu's skill to share some of the splash with the rest of the team, only for it to splash onto the same person. All her skills won't ever fail you like that. Plus, in case you forgot, her skill will also remove a debuff. So picture this, Huohuo uses her heal on a second slot character, in this case, Blade. The character in the first slot and the third slot will receive some healing from the splash, and Blade will get a cleanse. Tip number 2, positioning for Huohuo. Place your Huohuo right next to the ally on your team who is most likely to get hit. Some enemies have attacks that will also hurt adjacent allies. This allows your Huohuo to get some energy from those type of situations. I know everyone's account is slightly different. For example, some of you can't pull a Tengyun to save your life, while others may have an E12 Tengyun by now. Here is my quick list of characters that I believe will synergize really well with Huohuo, and hopefully most of you will have some of these characters. By the way, this is not in any particular order, these are just my initial impressions, so I won't go too deep into them. Number 1, Tengyun. She may have a surprising combo with Huohuo. Tengyun can give Huohuo 50 energy, 60 if your Tengyun is E6. This is nearly 50% of Huohuo's ult cost. Think about it this way, the more Huohuo can ult, the more Tengyun and the rest of the team can ult. And the more Tengyun can ult, the more Huohuo can ult. This is a loop of giving energy to each other. Number 2, Jingliu. For those of Jingliu, I am sure most of you, if not all of you can agree that Jinglio's enhanced form is so much better than her regular form. With Huohuo's help, Jinglio might be able to get her ult again in her enhanced form, which will help her stay in that form for a little bit longer. Number 3, Jingyuan. You can ask any Jingyuan user in the game, and I am 100% sure each and every single one of them will acknowledge that Tingyun is married to their Jingyuan. So following up on that, if Huohuo is truly just a better Tingyun, then I don't see why Huohuo wouldn't be Jingyun's new favorite toy. Wait, what? Number 4, the Hyper Carry starter package of Bronya and Pella. Most of us are familiar with the Hyper Carry setup of 2 supports, 1 sustain, and 1 damage dealer. In a Hyper Carry team setting, the damage dealer is only being supported by the 2 supports. In our case, it's Bronya and Pella. Now, imagine if the healer is also providing energy regen and attack percent boost on top of that. All of a sudden, the damage dealer might be able to reach higher level of damage. Is more damage necessary? Nope. And I think many of us are able to zero cycle MLC by now. However, I'm a simple man. I just want to reach damage levels that are even further beyond. Number 5, dot characters. In most general cases, dot characters get way more benefit from attack percent than they do from crits. Huohuo being able to provide attack percent is a blessing for dot teams. Number 6, Blade. Is anyone seeing this? Blade, Bronya, Huohuo. This is a legit team comp for a pseudo mono wind with Silverwolf. People have been hyping up mono quantum and mono imaginary, but mono wind is on the rise. Number 7, Tingyun again and Yukong. Okay, I'm gonna be honest here, the only reason I'm including this is because I know for a fact some people are thinking about the all Foxian lineup. Yeah, me too. In all honesty, Huohuo is going to synergize with many characters, not just the one I've mentioned in this video. If you cooked up a certain combination that I haven't mentioned here, or you also thought of the same thing, please let me know in the comments below. Personally, I'm going to throw everything into Huohuo's banner. A key reason for my decision here is that I don't have Luocha nor do I have Xuan. I have enough damage dealers on my account to cover several different elements. Worst case scenario, I'll just use the cheat code known as Silverwolf. If you also don't have a Xuan nor a Luocha, I highly recommend you to give Huohuo some consideration. At the end of the day, I can't force you to summon a character you don't like. But in my opinion, having a top tier healer is needed to push further into the harder difficulty content. This may be a conversation topic for a different video, but Huohuo has shown their willingness to add in-game content. Swarm 5 is pretty difficult, especially if you don't have Xuan. I believe Huohuo will continue to add more in-game content in the future. So not having a single top tier healer on my accounts personally might keep me from completing future endgame content. My E6 Jinglio might not be able to beat a stage if she dies in 2 hits, or she's getting perma CC'd. Overall, our newest addition to the Foxian characters lineup, Huohuo, if just looking at her kit, she's very tempting. Her only competitions realistically are Luocha and Xuan so far. Huohuo is able to provide a more offensive-oriented playstyle that those two simply cannot. Let me know if you're planning on pulling for Huohuo or if you're skipping her. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.